Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Celtic Unrestricted Review podcast. My name is Ryan Clifford, and join me in this episode is Declan Taylor. Dick, how's things, mate, and how's your weekend so far?
Aye, good mate. Just obviously had one eye on the second place team's game of the day. I don't really want to say their name. Then obviously thinking on to tomorrow as well. But it's going good, mate.
As I says, mate, obviously, last podcast was a few days ago, so obviously we'll review the St Mirren game, also speak about certain things, i.e. the friendly, and some other topics about Celtic, obviously, as you mentioned. The game tomorrow, which is obviously a big, massive game, I would say, in our season, maybe one of the biggest games. Obviously, we've no beat Livingston in a long time, so it's a bit of a snag that way. But obviously, mate, the St Mirren game, you probably could say it was comfortable, but it was a bit nervy until we get the goal. But I think it was just obviously performance for me. I don't know what you think, but I did think it was flat again. But I think the most important thing is obviously getting the win and the 3 points, and then we move.
Aye, I did. I had that. I had the feeling of the Hibs game where right for the first whistle we didn't. I didn't feel as if we had the same sort of energy and drive to go forward. It was there. We did improve for the Hibs game. That's got to be a plus to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
But what I feel we've really done in the past few weeks, I think I've mentioned it to the rest of the troops as well, is like we're so slow in moving the ball about now. Whereas, especially before Christmas, and then when we played the Rotten Mob at Celtic Park, we moved the ball quickly. It was maximum 2 touches per player. And against teams that are going to come and sit in and make things difficult for you, you're going to have to play it quickly. You're going to have to. It's not going to be a case of right. I'm going to put my foot in the ball and start pointing when I'm putting the ball. It's got to move it quickly. And they mentioned it on. I think it was on the commentary during the Hibs game when they brought. Sorry, it was the Bodo Glimt game when they brought Callum McGregor on, and that was what they said. McGregor was shouting at the rest of the team as a captain should be doing, going 2 touches, no more than 2 touches. But it was a bit flat. But as you've said there, the main thing at this getting to the business end of the season is getting 3 points. We eventually got the goal, and I felt after we got the goal, we made substitutions, and the game opened up a wee bit again for us, and you could feel that it became a bit more free flowing. The passing was a lot better, as discussed in our recent weeks. I think some of Celtic's passing in the past few games has been absolutely dreadful.
Mm-hmm.
But all in all, it's at this stage of the season, I'll accept that to a degree to get 3 points, because I'm not a big one for stats, Ryan, because I feel as if you can manipulate stats to whatever way you want to look at them, but
Mm-hmm.
The amount of shots we had and things like that. I mean, St Mirren only really for me came up the park and threatened once. It was very early on in the game, so I do believe we were in firm control, but I feel as if we need to be doing a bit more to draw these teams out.
No, I think I agree with you, Dick. I think the last few weeks we've been very, very flat. I know we've been getting the points in the league, but obviously the Bodo games were very disappointing. But even Dundee at home, I know it was 3-2, but I know we created chances, but there's creating chances and there's creating goals going up. And I think we've been doing that less and less, like you says. For me, I think the only positive, not the only positive, but one of the only positives was actually winning the game, because I didn't think we played that well against St Mirren. But it's very hard to, as you said, mate, it's very hard to play against these teams when they're basically just defending and they're not really trying to attack. And it doesn't matter if you're Barcelona or Real Madrid, if the away teams come to play like that, it is very, very, very hard to defend against basically 10 men in front of a goalkeeper. But obviously we've got to try and combat that with either tactics or change our players. And I think Vickers getting the goal, I think it was a perfect time to get the goal, because when we got the goal, the crowd reacted, and for me, it just kind of brought Celtic back alive.
Yeah, and this might sound a bit daft as well, but the type of goal we scored this season, we've scored some absolutely phenomenal goals and played some really really great football. That for me, although the big guy took it absolutely brilliantly, I felt as if it was a bit more scrappy than what we're used to, and I was quite happy to see that where it was the type of performance to get the initial goal where it was a basically roll your sleeves up and get stuck in. That was the way it was going to come, um, and I was quite pleased for Carter Vickers getting the goal.
As you mentioned as well, we've only really scored a lot of goals from IE set pieces or corner free kick set pieces, corner kicks. So I know you probably could count it as a set piece, but I'd probably say that's one thing for your downfall. And even just this year, for a lot of years, is our set pieces. We've not really got guys. I know we've got Vickers and stuff out who I would say are relatively tall, but they don't really do much in the box when it comes to heading and stuff like that. So maybe opposite direction, I would say so. But when it comes to our box, I think that's something we need to brush up on. Is obviously scoring for set pieces, and I would say especially corners, because when was the last time we actually scored for a straight corner, apart from maybe a volley, an actual header? I can't tell you the last time that happened for us.
Well, somebody actually told me the other day. Apparently, it was Shane Duffy last season. So
There you go.
cast your mind back to that. I mean, I don't know if that's factually correct, but that was what I was told the other day.
Is that
I think
I was Ross County winner?
I think as well on touching on Carter Vickers and Starfelt. There's a couple of things I would like to go on about them, but I feel as if even defending wise, and there may be people out there that disagree with me, but I don't think they're aggressive enough when it comes to attacking the ball, even in their own penalty area. And I don't know if that is because, and again, a lot of people would disagree that Ayer couldn't head a ball and all the rest of it, but I felt as if you've went to having two extremely tall centre halves at 6'5" and 6'6" to again not small centre halves, but they're not as physically. What Julian and Starford, sorry, Julian and Ayer weren't. Well, they're not bullies of centre halves, but I think just having that extra height helped as well to be more commanding in the area. Whereas Carter Vickers is an absolute unit of a guy, but he's not that Bobo Baldi presence that one of the ones as a centre forward you're going, shit, where is he? What, am I waiting to get hit here? I think that could be detrimental going forward as well because you're
No,
not aggressive enough
I
going
would
to attack the
agree.
cross ball.
No, I'd agree, definitely. I think not just centre back, mate. I don't know what you think, but I just think I know we're very technically very good, but I think we're no nasty enough, and we're no as hard into some tackles and doing the dirty side off the park as well as maybe other teams do. Even not
Mm-hmm.
wasting time when we're 2-0 up. Joe Hart's still running to go and get the ball, and you're like, just settle the game down and see the game out.
I definitely think that we're no longer nasty enough to middle of the park. For me, there's nobody with a bit of bite. Don't get us wrong. I think the Rangers game showed you that team can be fired up and can want to fight for everything. But I think when it comes to that, I mean, obviously Scott Brown's now at Aberdeen, and obviously you always look to Brown for that challenge or
Mm-hmm.
that wee bit of the dark arts of football, just a wee bit of tactics to wind up the opposition. Like one of the biggest ones for me with Scott Brown was Celtic and Rangers at Ibrox, at Hogmanay, Brendan Rodgers' first season, and we had Siminovic and Sviatchenko at centre half. And I can't even remember who it was that done it. But Brown absolutely smashed one of the Rangers midfielders in the middle of the park, got booked for it, but turned round to start to Sviatchenko and Siminovic and rolled at them as if no, this is how we play in this game. And I think as technically gifted as Callum McGregor is as a footballer, I don't know if he's got that wee bit. I'm going to put the boot in here, but about him.
I would say so as well, mate. I think we're all technically very nice. Say the dark arts of the game. I don't think sometimes we're there as much as I think we can be. But I definitely agree when it comes to that tackle. I can remember it. I can't remember who it was he tackled, but I can remember. And he got up and roared, and it's wee things like that that it gets the crowd as well, not just the players. I think it gets the crowd up for the games as well, because, like you say, sometimes in these games can be flat. But if you get not a bad tackle, but a rough tackle or a hard tackle, it gets the full team and the crowd going.
Yeah, definitely. I think we are missing key elements of that at the moment. I don't think Juranovic shy of putting himself about as we've seen, but in my head it's kind of hard to think any of the rest of them where I've seen a bit of that fieriness from this season. Even go back to the St Johnstone game where Kane, he knows what he's doing. The ball's trapped under Vickers and he has the wee kick out. Even that, you were looking for a reaction from him for the next 50-50 ball between Vickers and Kane. Absolutely smash him. Nobody's saying go over the ball and get yourself a red card, but when the ball drops between you, absolutely nail him. Do it. But again, does that come from the manager? That's not his style. That's not us. But saying that, I remember seeing a clip of Ange before he took over, and the big man liked to tackle as well. So I'd quite like to see that implemented somewhere along with the silkiness of the football we play at times.
I would say that's spot on, mate, for me. I think it's something we do lack a wee bit, is the toughness and readiness in the midfield, as you mentioned. I had Brown for years, and I don't know if you need to maybe buy somebody like that out. I don't know, but I thought in the St Mirren game, I thought Hatate was quite poor. I know he's been okay since he came in the first few games, but I thought he was pretty poor. And don't know what your take on him is, mate, but I don't know if that's because he's played too many games and now it's catching up on him, because he obviously came for a season. I don't know, but I thought the last maybe 2 or 3 games, Hatate's been very flat in his performances.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. Again, I don't know if he could be another one who's a victim of his own early success, because obviously he came in, and obviously the Rangers game we were absolutely raving about him because he absolutely bossed the midfield, and obviously scored 2 cracking goals. But watching them watching them at the weekend there. Even when he gets the ball, for me sometimes it's as if he's unsure of what to do next or where to go. Whereas when he first came in, it was crisp. It was right. I know what I want to do. I know where I'm going. But yeah, we used the word flat to describe the whole team, but I would say that adjective really suits Hatate at the moment. Is there's no a spark there, and he likes a shot from the edge of the box, because you've seen it happen a couple of times now where the ball's come out to a similar area when he scored against Rangers, and he's fluffed it. So I do think there's a part of it is he's came from Japan, he's played a full season there, and he's been dropped back in here again. But I think that then falls to your manager to use the squad rotation, something that we didn't really have in August when this season kicked off. But I think you've got it now. You've got players that can come in and do a job there. Like, squad rotation is going to be very important in this running, I think. Although also we lost to Bodo Glimt, we're out of Europe, but you've still got a league to go for, and you've still got a Scottish Cup, so you're going to need that squad. So I think as poor as Hatate has been, and I think everyone agrees with it, I don't think that's a controversial thing to say, because I've heard so many people saying it now. But I think Andrew's got to look at it and put other players in now. Give him a rest.
Yeah, I would say so as well, mate. Obviously, the game against Livingston for me tomorrow, it's not going to be a nice game. It's going to be, I would say, a bit of a battle, especially in the first 10-15 minutes. So, as a the guy that's going to be in there battling, or see more a technically gifted player for a game at home against St Mirren or Rangers. So, I think this is where your squad will come into play, as you say. You can put in O'Reilly, you can put in Rogic. So, he's definitely, obviously, David Turnbull still to come back. For me, when he's back, I think he should step in. I like the guy. I think we've missed his spark in the middle of the park. Some fans are saying that he maybe wasn't up to it. But kind of disagreeing. I think now we're seeing that maybe we're missing him in that middle of the park.
I'll hold my hand up and say sometimes I found David Turnbull very, very frustrating. I know he scored some good goals for us. I mean, especially the one he scored at Motherwell. That's a goal of the season contender. But I think you're missing that other option, that other dynamic, because I don't know about yourself, but I feel as if at the moment when we're playing, we always want that perfect final pass that taps it in for the 6-yard line or like 12 yards for goal. I would like to see us, instead of trying to walk it round teams that are going to sit in and that want to defend their own box, have a go, work an opening and hit it. Test the keeper, and Turnbull likes a shot for distance. And he must have quite a good conversion ratio. But I think Turnbull coming back into the squad would be a good addition, especially for the business end of the season anyway.
I think you're spot on, to be fair. I think it's somebody we have missed, and I think the type of player we've missed. So I believe that O'Reilly and Rogic are similar players as well, and I don't think they can play in the same team together. I know Rogic came on the other night. To be fair, I thought against Mirren when Rogic came on, the game changed. Don't know if maybe that's the way he is. Maybe he's got to start one game, be a sub one game, just to maybe interact with his performances. I don't know, but I thought Rogic, when he did come on, somewhat when Turnbull plays, I think Turnbull can change a game sometimes. Some fans might disagree, but I like him a lot, especially when it comes to his crosses and his set pieces. But I thought Rogic the other night when he came on against Man, I thought when the time was on, I thought he could change the game into your hands.
Yeah, I think. Well, this is the argument that seems to be had quite a lot now about Rogic and O'Reilly. Is we all know that Tom Rogic is so gifted and unbelievable as a footballer when he's on his game. But the biggest problem we've always had with Rogic is his fitness. That you can't get a Rogic at the peak of his powers for 90 minutes. He's normally you get him for an hour. So I think if that is the case, I think you then need to look at, you start with O'Reilly, bring Rogic on for the impact. Like you've just said there against St Mirren, I thought Rogic was superb when he came on the other night. Or do you start with Rogic for the hour and look for him to do his stuff, unlock the defence, and then after an hour you bring O'Reilly on? I think it's a good problem to have as a manager, I would say, because the two of them offer you stuff. Some of O'Reilly's passing is good as well, but for me, in the St Mirren game, when you brought Rogic on, you seen the game really open up, and it was really good to watch after watching what was quite a stuffy and nervous game, trying to break that St Mirren defence down. And Rogic he was linking up play and making nice wee passes with absolute ease. So a good problem to have, I would say.
That's definitely a good problem to have, mate. I'd rather have great players and not have great players to pick from. Obviously, I'm talking about being frustrated. I was frustrated at the fact that in the game on Wednesday that I just thought it was dead slow, especially in the first half. I don't know if the manager's telling the players to pass the ball side to side, but to me, especially, I don't want to pick on the guy, but every time Greg Taylor gets the ball, he's playing the ball back all the time, and it's frustrating as fuck for me. Fans might say that you're picking on him as usual, but I'm not picking on him. I'm just trying to be balanced here and realistic. If I just want to play this system, attacking, go gung ho, surely he can't play then, because for what I'm seeing, he's always passing the ball back, and then when you're in a forward position, he's turning back to pass it back to Starfelt or Vickers, but then you're starting to attack again, and it's putting you under pressure if someone pushes you up the park. So I don't know what you think of that, mate, but I thought that was really frustrating for me in Wednesday, was we kept passing the ball back. Instead of trying to hit the ball long or hit the ball out wide, it was always pass wide, and for me it was very, very frustrating.
No, I mean, your feelings about Greg Taylor are kind of well known at this stage. When he first came into when we first signed him and he came into the team, I tried to give him the benefit of the doubt. Where you go, he's came for Kilmarnock, so playing for Kilmarnock and playing for Celtic, it's two different worlds. There's so much more expected of you playing for Celtic, and I think Greg Taylor he's a good player, but I just don't know if he can make that consistent next jump at playing for Celtic and what's expected of Celtic's fullbacks. The game again. I'll hold my hands up. The game after we played Rangers, I thought Greg Taylor was absolutely brilliant that night. He was so good, and even going forward that night, it was as if there wasn't a fear of going forward. He linked up really well, but I mean at the weekend, and obviously I've got the wee guy with me, so I have to watch what colourful language gets used at times. But I found myself getting really, really frustrated because Taylor will take the ball and then he'll not try and play that risky pass forward, or he'll not try and knock it long or whatever. He'll turn back, bounce it off Carter Vickers. Carter Vickers, if he's got no option, he'll bounce it back to Taylor. He'll put it across the Starfelt. My other point I wanted to come on to with Starfelt and Carter Vickers, and people might shoot me down and say he's talking a lot of mince, but the Bodo Glimt game for me showed it, where Bodo Glimt is really, really well, but they knew where our centre halves were going to put the ball. McGregor was going to come short, it was going to bounce back off Vickers, and then look for Juranovic or look for Taylor to get into space. I would like to see us do, instead of doing that, if McGregor comes short and plays the ball back to Vickers, there's a gap there, because obviously, again, as everything was getting discussed at the start of the season, we play with the inverted fullbacks. So your fullbacks are slightly in, so that opens that channel. I would like to see the centre halves try and play that 15, 20-yard pass to direct to your winger, who for a lot of time it was Abada against Bodo Glimt, was standing with nobody near him. Like, give him the ball into space. Carter Vickers, to his credit, started doing it at the weekend. He was cutting out that daft short pass and going a wee bit longer, and it was quicker. Big Starfelt, the other enigma that splits the Celtic support, and I think I mentioned this to you guys after the St Mirren game. Starfelt, as we've seen, is not comfortable playing the ball on his left foot. And for me, having him and Greg Taylor down the left-hand side, Greg Taylor, who has got this strange refusal to play the ball forward, and you've got Starfelt, who can't turn the ball on his left foot and play it quickly. Everything's got to go on his right, and then he's got to turn. I try and defend the big guy, because I thought against St Mirren they had a good game. Some of his tackles, some of his interceptions, and some of the headers he won were really, really good. Again, it goes back to what I've just said about Greg Taylor. There's more expected of you playing for Celtic, and I personally like the big guy. I think he'll grow in confidence the better he plays. I would like to see him play as a right-sided centre half, but I think you've got to look at going, well, why are we not trying Vickers out there? Is Starfelt the better of the two? That's open to playing there. Do you know what I mean? And it's very, very frustrating watching it going. You see, Jota's been in for a lot of criticism lately because he's not hit the heights he was earlier on in the season. But again, I do think that's down because down the left hand side, Jota could see a pass, could see a ball a way through, and Starfelt and Taylor won't take the risk and play it. Starfelt, because he's not comfortable on that left side. Taylor, because Taylor would rather play the safe pass. I'm going a bit of a rant here. I understand that, but what I think we've missed, and what I think has been added into the game at the weekend, was when you had, again, I'm going back to Aya and Julian, maybe not to the same extent, but see that just the centre half just taking that big step and breaking that line and getting you that wee bit further up the park. Vickers done it at the weekend, and Starfelt done it as well. I would like to see more of that. And I understand that that's not the way we play now. We play a different style. But I think when you're faced with opposition that want to defend their own penalty box and don't really have any intention of trying to actually win the game, you've got to try something different. And I think that's where we could be in danger of falling into the trap that it's so much of a pattern that teams can defend against it and read it quite easily.
Aye, as I says, mate, I know I have a bit of banter about Greg Taylor. I don't. It's not nothing personal. It's generally I want Celtic to have the best we can, and I totally understand what fans say. He tries his hardest, which is I respect that, but that's what you should be doing at that level anyway. You should be trying your best and trying your best for your teammates. But as you say, mate, I've no qualms about him being like a second choice or whatever. But I think longer term, I think we need a better left back. I do believe that's probably our weak point is the left side of the team. And I just think Starfelt, I should rate him, mate, to be fair with you. I do rate him, but I do think it just looks awkward in his technique, as you say, with the left side. It's very awkward, and you can't really disguise it because you can see it. You can see he's not comfortable, and I'm actually glad you mentioned it because I was going to say to you, do you think maybe a home game against maybe a lesser opposition, he might try that and move him Starfelt to right and Vickers to left just to see how Vickers would be if he was comfortable, and if he was, I don't see why you can't, because see even at Livingston tomorrow, you could change it and go free to back. I know he won't do that, but you could go free to back and borrow it and have your two fullbacks, because I think you could even put Julian in there and play, and then you play him at the left and Vickers on the right and Starfelt through the middle. You could do that, but again, I don't think he'll ever change his formation for the four at the back.
No, I think Ange has his way of playing, and up to this point, domestically anyway, it's worked, and you've done quite well. I mean, I know this stat was flung about just leading up to the Rangers game. I've not checked it again to see if it's actually still the same, but we had the best defensive record in the league, and people couldn't believe that because everybody said Celtic's weak points are defence. The thought I had the other night, and it was Bodo Glint away again. I hate going back to this one because it's still a sore point, but young Scales, I don't see him as a fullback. I see him more as a centre half, and I'm not saying that he should be put in right now as your left sided centre back, but if you really are struggling for that, that's another option. As you're saying, you could play three at the back, keep Carter Vickers on the right, play Starfelt in the middle, and put Scales there because he's naturally left sided. Again, these are things that you could tinker with and everything else, but the left side really does seem to be an issue there. Just with the quickness and the fluidity of the play, it's just not there at the moment.
I've just checked them, mate. We still have got the best defensive. We've only conceded 17 goals in the league, I think, which for March I would say is very decent. I know I think we've lost 3, I think, or 4. So it's not that bad considering obviously where we were at the start of the season. And I think, like you said about Jota, I think the reason Jota's no hitting the heights is because he's not getting the service in a way as well. He's not getting the balls down the channel to take on players. I generally believe that Taylor and not really Starfelt, but that side's very, very lucky. He's very, very quick because he can get back and help out. Sometimes he's having to sprint back and help out. So I think maybe that's one reason why Jota's not getting much success, because he's maybe having to do a lot of the work himself, and sometimes he might not get the support from the fullbacks.
Aye, definitely. And it's one point as well. I watching Jota at the weekend, also when he was on my near side. When he gets the ball, he's drawing players from everywhere to defend against him. And again, I don't want to feel like I'm just totally blaming everything on Greg Taylor, because that's unfair. But I think sometimes Greg Taylor's a bit slow and maybe not as confident to come up and support him in an attacking sense. Whereas if Jota's pulling 2 players away with him, there's got to be a gap for Taylor to run through. There's got to be a channel. Jota, I think we've spoken about this in a previous podcast. Jota getting back and making tackles is something we were quite pleased to see.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think the left side, the left back area anyway, I think personally I would like to see us go in the summer and invest in a proven left back that can play at this level. Again, not wanting to be too disrespectful to Greg Taylor, because I think the guy would be a backup left back for Celtic. I don't think he would be your first choice left back if you had someone of another international quality, like somebody on a par with Juranovic, because I'm a big Juranovic fan. I think he's absolutely superb.
No, on JJ, mate, when I can remember when he first signed and I was raving about him, especially all using the group chat, simple as a belter. His pedigree, everything, his creations right back. We've got him for an absolute snip, and I know the first two, apart from his, I know his debut, I think was Ibrox left back. He was superb. Had 2 or 3 wee stuffy games after that, but for me, for the value we've got him for, he might. I can't remember if Croatia qualified for the World Cup or they are qualifying. I'm not sure, but if he does play, his value's going to go up again. It's just going to benefit us again. But I'm agreeing with you when it comes to if we do win the league this year, which I'm confident. I like to think we will. Again, you never overstep these things as anything can happen in football. But if you do get your maybe £30 million, whatever it is, i.e. plus your ticket sales and whatever else, at least go out and spend £7 or £8 million in a very, very good left back, and then that's you sorted. You don't need to buy 3 or 4 left backs, because we've spent £6 million on Bolingoli and Taylor, and we've not hit the heights. I get fans saying that he's trying and he's doing okay consistently, but is this what we're getting at Celtic now? Are we just getting to he's doing okay? For me, you've got to strive to get the best players and the best performances every week. And if some fans are happy with just Greg Taylor doing okay, then that's their opinion. But I'm no settling for just okay. I want my fullback to be like Janovic, up and down, tackling and about every tackle. And for me, I'm not going to say Taylor should look at Janovic because they're two different type of players, but he's bombing up and down. And I know Taylor's always going to be suspect to Kieran Tierney, which I think some fans have got away from that now, but because your Celtic are normally so used to fullbacks getting up and down, up and down, up and down, I mean, you're not getting it this year, according to the style of play that Ange wants to play, and he's just doing okay. For me, okay doesn't, for me in football terms, just playing okay isn't what I want to hear.
No, definitely not. And you touched on that there. I do think there still is an element that will compare any left back that we bring into Kieran Tierney. And I think that's very unfair, especially on Greg Taylor. And I think Greg Taylor must know himself, like he's having to fill Tierney's what would have been Tierney's space. So I think I said I don't want to make Greg Taylor the whipping boy, but he's always going to be compared to that class of player that was in there better than him. If you go back through Celtic's history of fullbacks, you probably a lot of people out there going, how did you know this? But like Sir Danny McGrain, who would have filled in after Danny McGrain would have been compared to him.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, I don't think Greg Taylor can hit the same heights as Kieran Tierney.
I would say mate, he's never going to be in that stature. But again, I do appreciate that the guy's doing his job, which he's been asked to do with a manager. But I think the left side, it's been a bugbear for a while, not just this year. It was a bugbear last year and even the year before, before Tierney left. So, and we've had maybe 4 or 5, 6 transfer windows. We're still not got it sorted yet. But again, another player that I'm about to kind of put out to the listeners and yourself, mate, is obviously Maeda. He's kind of split the fans at the moment. I know he scored a few goals. But for me, it was frustrating on Wednesday against Mirren because he doesn't stay in the box, and there's corners, no corners, there's crosses getting put in, there's passes getting put in the box, and nobody's there. And see if I was actually explaining to the guy next to me on Wednesday, see if you've got 3 guys up front, obviously Jota and Abada become 2 strikers basically when they're attacking. When you've got 3 guys up front, and nobody's in the box, what's the point? You've got to be moving, and I don't know what you think as well, mate. See the first half, I thought we were very, very flat when it comes to static. I thought we're very static movement. We weren't moving at all, and I think that comes with obviously, don't know if it's nerves or the pressure of the season, but I thought maybe on terms of Maeda, I think he's got to stay in the box a bit much. He's just running all the time, and I put it on Twitter, and 2 or 3 guys kind of came back at me and says, well, I basically says that he's got to game manage the way he plays. Like, I was a striker when I played, right? You don't close down every single ball because you'll be fucked after half an hour. You've got to manage when to shut down and when to stay back. Observe the game. Well, that's what I would say top players do. They decide when to go and when not to go. And Maeda's brilliant at what he does when it's shutting down. It does really good for us. But I think for scoring more goals and as a striker, I think he's got to get in the box more and stay round about that basically 6-yard, 18-yard box to get goals.
Aye. There's a couple of times against St Mirren where I'm looking at him going, why are you in on the box? Why are you hanging about on the wing next to Jota? Like, you're meant to be our main striker here. But again, as you said, you're talking about Greg Taylor. The work rate that Maeda does put in is absolutely unbelievable. I made a point of watching him, what he was doing off the ball the other night, just because he has been so controversial amongst the supporter now. I do like the guy. I do. I can't fault his work rate. I can't fault his effort. But as you say, I think he needs to channel it and focus it a bit more. Don't get us wrong. Just after we scored the opener, and Callum McGregor just lifted the ball through him, I thought that one was goal bound. The wee overhead effort. Just a wee bit too tame for the keeper. But I floated this idea to a couple of people the other day. And again, as we've discussed earlier, Ange does not seem to want to change the way he plays, the system. I think Maeda would be perfect in a classic big guy, wee guy partnership alongside Giamakis. The big guy, for big Gigi to hold the ball up, knock the ball down, and Maeda to do all the running. But again, that's I don't think we'll ever see that unless something drastically changes, because that's not the way Postecoglou plays. It's not. But no, I hope he's another case of Hatate where he will come good, but the end of the season will come just in time for him, I think. Saying to one of the guys at the game the other day was, can you imagine the likes of Hatate and Maeda? And again, we've not seen too much of Iraguchi, but these guys have just came from Japan, playing a full season there and everything that goes with it, and they've come over here now. These guys having a rest at the end of this season. You win the league, you don't have to worry about qualifiers. You can do your pre-season, you don't have to worry about getting ready earlier than you have to be for your league campaign. These guys get a rest, they get a full pre-season, and they get to actually have a bit of time off as well. And I know sometimes we look at it and go, what the football players need a time off for? But these guys have played a full season and are now coming over here, and you want them to perform at the peak of their powers. So I think a rest when they finish for the summer and a full pre-season under Postecoglou, I think these guys will be absolutely different class come next season. I'm pleased with what they've done so far here, although we are saying that we would like to see a bit more from them at times. But I think a lot of that's got to do with how much football they've played.
I obviously all know how society is these days, that people think football players are paid too much money. Why they need a rest? And sometimes I would like to say, well, why don't you go on a football shoes for a few days just to see what you need to do? It's not just about kicking the ball. It's obviously the outside noise in the media. You can't go out in shops all the time. It's just you're living a professional life. You need to eat certain foods at maybe a certain time. These guys are basically performing their body, pushing their body every single day, every weekend. So of course there's a a 3-4 weeks after at summer, just like we had a holiday during our work time. It's the same as them. That's their work. They play football, but that's their job. So they need time off. And like he says, we've very rarely had, like, just for talk's sake, Cam McGregor, he plays about 50 to 60 games a season, maybe just with Celtic. That's not even with Scotland. And say Scotland, they get to the World Cup, that's more games for him to play. So he would probably appreciate an extra 2 or 3 weeks extra break. But I do agree, mate. I think you will see the fruits of them and maybe some other players when we do get maybe a more time off at the off season. And as you mentioned, obviously, Giamakis is back for tomorrow's game. Well, no, he starts. Me personally, I think it'd be a good game to put him in because I don't think the game's going to be tailor-made for pretty football. I think it'd be good to use him, get the ball up to him, link up with the midfielders, i.e. Jota and Bad out wide, flip it on, hold it up and get guys into play. And I think tomorrow could be a game for him to maybe shine because I think it maybe suit him to a T.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think, again, my biggest problem going to Livingston and even playing Livingston at Celtic Park, because the game at Celtic Park, they made life hard for us. They sat in, they defended resolutely, they put their bodies in the way. I think it is time to try something different because the game at Celtic Park, obviously, you missed the penalty. The big man missed the penalty as well. So you look at that and go, is this a shot at redemption for you now? Go to Livingston and score. And work hard because Livingston's defence are all big boys, and the one thing I like about Giamakis is he puts himself about, and he will win you fouls in and around the area because he is that way inclined where he just puts himself in the way. I had a wee look earlier on today at the last 2 meetings with us in Livingston, the way Livingston set up and the way they played. So the game at the Spaghetti had when we get beat, they set up with 5 at the back. So they played with 5 at the back the whole time, and I thought they'll probably play the same system coming to Celtic Park. Whereas at Celtic Park they actually played with 5 in the middle of the park.
Right.
So Celtic against Livingston at Celtic Park, 800 and something odd passes. I wrote the actual stat down, but actually I can't find it now. But I think tomorrow, going with Giamakis, you need to go a bit more direct because you've seen it there. The stats will show you as well that we always have all the ball, we've all the possession, but we don't seem to be able to get in behind Livingston. Obviously, we said St Mirren, they sat in, and again, to their credit, it's what they come to do. That's their game plan, is sit in and make it difficult for you. I said going to the St Mirren game, St Mirren will defend their own penalty box. I found the last time we played Livingston were quite happy for you to have the ball around the box because they were confident any high ball they can head it away because you didn't have an aerial threat. You had Kyogo, who, again, will do his best and will try and go in the end of his stuff a bit like Maeda, but you're competing against guys that are 6'4" and will head the ball away all day. So, on term, they'll defend their own penalty box, but Livingston, I found anyway that they'll defend their own 6-yard line. We can have the ball in the box, they'll defend their own 6-yard line. That's how deep they'll sit in. So I think it's going to be another case that it might be scrappy, it might be like a stab over the line with somebody's toe. But I think tomorrow is going to be one of the games where it's going to be hard. You're going to have to put your head in and everything else in when it hurts, because Livingston will do everything in their power to stop you breaching that goal line tomorrow. And they know. Obviously, we've discussed Mr. Martindale, and we're podcasting different things about him, but you'll have it in their heads of going, well, you beat Celtic here in the season. You took a point off them at Celtic Park. Like, I don't think they'll fear us playing that game tomorrow. I think they'll play with confidence in their own game, and I think it's up to us to then do something different and cause them another problem.
Yeah, mate, I think when it comes to obviously the manager, we all know he's going to set up Livingston to basically just park the bus, get a counter-attack if they can. But I generally believe at any time we play Livingston, they've done well defensively, but attacking wise, they've only scored because we've made mistakes. I don't think they've really done anything to cut us open or anything like that. I think for me, again, I'm not a manager, so I can't tell you players what today. But for me as a fan, I think they should maybe do what they've done against St Mirren. Obviously at St Mirren, where we drew the last 15-20 minutes when they brought on Juranovic, we get a bit more joy by just hitting balls in the box, get the ball wide, boom, get it in. Instead of us passing side, left, right, where they can just shuffle along and shuffle and shuffle, and it's very hard to get past that. It doesn't matter who you are. If you've got 9 or 10 guys at the back just sitting there, it's very, very hard. So I don't know if that's, again, Jackie Marcus in the box. You just get the ball wide to Jota and Abada, boom, get it in the box. Eventually it's going to happen. It's like you say with Jota, he just squares guys up and goes. Eventually, when you do that, you're going to get joy. You're going to get a free kick or a penalty, or you're going to get by him and put it in the box. So if you keep at these things, eventually it does come. But I think sometimes we get frustrated and we don't try things. We just pass, move, instead of hitting a long ball against these teams to try and get out of the tap. It just seems to be we get frustrated because we can't play the way that we want to play.
Mm-hmm. Aye, I think sometimes when again the Livingston problem hasn't been just been this season. I mean, I remember when we had the likes of Christopher Julian and everybody like he get bullied. Like Lyndon Dykes was all over him. He was bullying him. He was shoving him about, and we thought that was a problem. And I thought, well, obviously Lyndon Dykes is now playing down south, but again. To again Livingston's credit, they've adapted and found a system that suits them. I mean, I know that was an own goal the other night, but they beat Dundee United. In the form table, Livingston are second to us, for points gained and everything else. They're pushing for top 6. So, as much as I think they will sit in, I think there will be an emphasis tomorrow on they'll look to put pressure on us from any set pieces they win. If they get corners or anything, because they're a team of big boys for what I can remember. But again, as you just said there, it's up to us to try something different. Like don't be scared to do something different, because Livingston will expect you to try and use your width. You use Abada and Jota and try and get the ball into the box. But as we discussed with Maeda, you need a target to hit.
Mm-hmm.
You need to get support into that box. And I think the most frustrating thing the last time we played at Livingston was a couple of times if we would just lift our head instead of play the ball at the box, play the ball along 18-yard line, play the cutback and look for McGregor or somebody just to smash it for distance. And that I think is one of our biggest problems, as I mentioned earlier on, is we're not having shots for distance. We want the perfect ball, final ball into the box, and putting it in for 2 yards. That's there's more than one way to play football, as we all know. But I do think tomorrow will be an ugly game. I'm secretly hoping not. I'm secretly hoping that I'll get a break at work and look at my phone and go Celtic are 2-0 up after half an hour. That would be ideal. But I think tomorrow you have to be up for it tomorrow, because they will be. And as we discussed, the pitch and everything else, but I think Giamakis starts, but I think you need to give him the service.
Yeah, definitely. I think you're right, mate. There's no point in playing Giamakis if you're not going to get the ball into the box and use his strength and his quality. For me, I think he could be the match winner tomorrow. Because again, before he fell ill, for me he's been brilliant. I was a big kind of. For me, I was big on him coming in when he came in. I couldn't believe the price we got him for, and the goal just scored last year. And I think he's going to be good for us again. Whether or not he plays when Kale goes back, it's a different question. But obviously, I know there's another split opinions about obviously this friendly down in Australia, which again, it's when I say split, it's mainly 90% to 10%. I would say that I've seen, 90% being tell it to F off. for me, I know we spoke before we come on deck, but for me, it's just an absolute bonkers situation. We moan about how many games you play a season, how many games you need to travel to in Europe, and then we're coming back and playing. We're playing during the World Cup. I think it is November. It might even be just a B team that goes, fringe players that are known the World Cup. It's not going to really be much of a spectacle. Might be a spectacle for Australians to watch, but no for us. Obviously, you'll still watch it, but it's not going to be a. Let's be fair, mate. This isn't a friendly game. Doesn't matter if you play with your pals in a charity match or you play in Australia. This game is not a friendly. No matter how you put it, this game is just. It's never going to be shake your hands and not eat. Let's go and get a few beers after the game. It's never going to be like that.
No, it's definitely not. And again, I've seen a lot of people in the media calling it, saying that people, it's just a game. It's not. It's the hatred and the bigoted side of it needs to be put to one side. For me, yeah, I can't actually believe that we're looking to take part in it, to be honest, because you said there, it's for me, right, and this could be a biased opinion because I support one of the sides in the derby game. For me, Celtic and Rangers is globally the biggest derby in the world.
Yep.
And I know you'll get people talking about the games in South America and everything else, but for me, Celtic and Rangers is bigger than anything you'll see in England. Like England don't have anything that compares to it. And I just feel as if doing this, having a friendly against them it's so commercialised, and it's all about one thing. I mean, the Green Brigade put a banner up about it. We're not half of anything unless there's money to be made.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I can't see it anything more than shameless attempt at getting more money. I mean, we spoke earlier on when we brought the stars for Japan in, that how much money you'll create from that in a marketing side of things with shirt sales and everything else in the Far East. But to then play a friendly against your Glasgow rivals, a glamour friendly. And I think I've seen a figure of about 83,000 spectators at the game, and I just don't understand it. I mean, I understand we have a global fan base, and also people in Australia that have never seen Celtic play Rangers in person. I get that, but for me, no, I don't get it. I don't understand it. For me, it feels it's a very commercialised, very like we'll sell tickets, we'll sell this, we'll sell that, we'll sell the next thing. It's just about money. That's plain and simple. In my opinion, it's just about money.
Because see, I can maybe understand if they went, you know what, it would be a Celtic B team and Rangers B team. Let's be fair, they're still part of Celtic, but you can maybe go, you know, maybe okay, right? But the fact that you're maybe going to have first team players gone and classes are friendly, it's more friendly. It's Celtic, Rangers, or Sevco, as people like to call them, Sevco. They should not be playing friendlies. For me, we should be going down the route where down south go, where Arsenal and Chelsea, or Spurs and Chelsea and Man U playing all these tournaments in Australia and Japan. And for me, that, like you say, it's pure commercialised. It's just money, and you don't need to do it. It's just absolutely bonkers. Just for talk's sake, we qualify for, well, hopefully we win the league and you play group stages, maybe around about that time. So you're going to have group stages, you're going to have a World Cup, you're going to have this friendly that they might be there for a week or 2 weeks. It's going to be absolutely bonkers. I just don't know why they've done it. I don't know why they could have just. I can maybe understand if it was Celtic, another foreign team, in 2 clubs for Australia. Fair enough. I would have still maybe I thought why you're doing it, but putting a team, which let's be fair, we're getting them money for this. You're getting money. We're saying that they're skinting this and that, but yet you're giving them an admission. It's just bonkers in my opinion, mate. I don't know. again, we've all got an opinion in football. I'd never criticise anybody's opinion because I might talk shite on this and might have people saying, "Oh, that cunt talk shite." Fair enough, but how can any fan think this is acceptable? I just don't. As he says, if you're a fan that stays in Australia and you can't get to see the games, perfect opportunity to see your team again, which is for them that's fantastic. But for us, you're thinking, what? Why? I know it's money, it might be £3 million, but you can get that £3 million with selling a player or selling more shirt sales or so. And let's be fair, see if I was a Rangers fan, I'd be absolutely going off my rocker. You're basically going to a match. By the way, Celtic could win the treble this year, right? I'm not saying we're going to win the treble, but we could, right? It's possible. Celtic could win the treble or just even win the league. You're going to go home, Andrew's going to go home to a big fuck off heroes welcome. Celtic are going to get a heroes welcome, and they're going to be playing against Angie's homecoming team that's just beaten to the league title. If I was a Rangers fan, I would not be happy with that.
Spot on, mate. And I think images from their game the other night as well, you can see certain banners that were put up. They don't want to play either. I know the banners that were put up are another contentious point, but I will leave that where it is now. But no, they're the same as they. I never thought I would find myself agreeing with sections of that support, but they have the same ideology as us. They don't want to play us in a friendly. Celtic and Rangers is not a friendly. There's nothing friendly about it, as you stated. And it's again, you've hit the nail on the head there as well. If Celtic win the league and the Scottish Cup this season, Andy's basically taking the trophies home and going, well, the returning hero, the all-conquering hero, and they're going to play a part in that. Don't get us wrong. If that is the case, I don't agree with the friendly. I don't agree with us playing them, but I will have a wee chuckle to myself as well. It's one of the ones like I call it the sections of the moon howling support. They believe that we run Scottish football. So all I'm saying is, if you're prepared to come to Australia and play the team that have hopefully won the treble the previous season, like you are just puppets dancing in their strings.
Mate, you know what? I would say that I think if we do win the league and even just if we don't win the Scottish Cup, you still go there with the league. Celtic, you would say you're going to Scottish football because you're following the rules of what we're doing. You've asked our families, says, "Aye, fuck it, you're coming." And honestly, it's just you could probably talk about it, mate, for a full podcast on why they're doing it and why they shouldn't be doing it and why the pros and the cons. Because the only pros I see is obviously fans that don't see the games here and they stay in Australia and they can maybe see I don't know if maybe a better quality a player or they get to see their team again for a long time. I don't know, but that's maybe the only positive. It might be good for somebody's managers to maybe go and scout players and go and see players, which is fair enough. But the negatives outweigh the sorry, I'm button here, mate. Sorry, the negatives outweigh for me every positive. I just think it's absolutely crazy. Like you says, the fact that both sets of fans are disagreeing with it tells you, and you need to know. And when fans start to talk and put banners up and do this, that's when you know something's not right. And we all know it was. I can remember seeing it on Twitter, and I thought it was just one of they made up profiles. And then I seen it again. I was like, you must be joking. I know football's going to be more commercialised in years to come, but Celtic shouldn't be. I understand we're a business and we need to make money, but Celtic know there's some of these fans are going to fork out money to go and watch this fucking friendly. And for me, I'm never going to tell a fan not to do that, but I think it's absolutely bonkers that they're actually giving fans a decision to go, you know what, do I go and do that? I think it's crazy, absolutely bonkers.
Aye, but as we've said there, the positives for Celtic supporters out in Australia, like possibly there's probably a lot of people that have since moved to Australia, and possibly were season ticket holders at one point that have they been back to Scotland to see the team in the flesh, and that would be brilliant for them. There's probably guys over there that have left here, now have families over there and want to share that as a generational thing. Like they want to take their kids to see Celtic without having to go halfway around the world. But just looking at it as your average punter that goes week in, week out. No, like for me, no. This is that we don't do this stuff. This is why the rivalry up here is as unique as it is, because there is no friendlies, there is nothing like that. Like as you can tell, I'm really struggling for words to describe it, because as you said, I thought it was somebody taking the piss. And when I saw that it's actually happening, I couldn't believe it, and I actually haven't seen many positive thoughts on it on Twitter or on social media. Most people are no, this is abhorrent. This should not be happening. You should not be playing friendlies against your fiercest rivals. And as you've mentioned earlier on, that seems to be a very English thing. A lot of the English teams do that, where they go and play in these tournaments in places like Dubai and Australia and America, and you play each other. And I remember a few years ago, we were breaking the season. We went and played Real Madrid. So why not organise something like that in Australia? Like, you can go and play against Andy's former team there. I mean, Australia is massive for Celtic orientated support. And else you've done that. You could have done something like that, and I just don't understand why them. Why bring them in here? And as the club took this stance, we're not half of anything. So you also the scenes in George Square in different places after we lost the league last season, and you say we're not half of anything, but why are we half of something now? That doesn't make sense to me.
It's just money in it. I think both is agreeing on that, mate. It's because money's cash is king when it comes to a lot of football clubs, and like you say, for me, I don't know if they're trying to weed out how. I don't know if they're trying to weed out how fierce the rivalry is. I just believe that obviously they've took away the tickets for us as well. They've made them basically down to nothing, and then now they're taking them to a friendly away. It's just I just think the full thing's a shambles, and I don't know if they're trying to take the rivalry and the philosophy of the rivalry away from Scottish football. But doing all this and try and make it a more publicised, commercialised derby or Glasgow derby, I don't know what they're trying to do with it, but for me, it just screams a shiver of shite, personally.
Totally agree, mate. Totally agree.
I just don't know. I think other fans will be having the same on their own social media platforms. I just think it's bonkers. Maybe obviously tomorrow, maybe what's your opinions in the game? Obviously predictions, and how do you think the game will go?
I think the longer it goes at nothing each, the Livingston team will grow in confidence. I did a wee snoop on Livingston's Twitter and their Facebook earlier on. I think this was maybe two days ago. They only had something like 60 seats left in their stadium for the game against us, so the Livingston crowd will be behind them. I think there will be sections of our support that will grow nervous the more it goes nothing each, because it'll be a thought of here we go again. The dynamic for me that can change it tomorrow is if Celtic were to get an early goal. An early goal, Livingston game plan is out the window. So I'm going to go to Lim and say Celtic 2-0.
I think what you say is I'd agree with me. I just think if we get an early goal, it kind of settles the nerves and you can kind of relax a wee bit and play your football, no having to hustle and bustle and rush the game. I just hope it's maybe one of these games that we're all hyping up to be a hard game and we turn up and wipe the floor with them, because I know Livingston were one of the form teams in the league. Take away the Astro Park, Celtic really shouldn't have. Again, I know football's a crazy game, anything can happen, but realistically on quality, Livingston shouldn't have beaten Celtic. It just shouldn't have happened with the amount of quality Celtic have got over Livingston. But we all know football's a crazy game, and again, when it comes to Livingston for some crazy results, I'd agree with you, mate. Just try and get an early goal and try and kind of get a crowd behind us, because we know if it goes to 60 minutes, we're going to get a bit nervous, and a wee bit more going is going to happen. So we hope that doesn't kick in. But again, mate, thanks for your time, and hopefully we come back with a win tomorrow. But take care, Dick. Hail, hail.
No worries, mate. Hey, well, keep safe. Bye.